We used to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to continue with that, if you don't mind. I pledge allegiance
to the
to
flag
the flag of the United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
If you like, Mr. Sweeney, I could go ahead and conduct roll call to make sure
I
everybody's here.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. Kerry Rodriguez.
Here.
Andrew Salazar.
Here.
Oliver Lesbrance.
Here.
Joe Coca. Mike Sweeney.
Here,
Thank you, sir. We have a quorum.
I'd like to ask for a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Lesbrance has moved. We need a second.
Second.
We have a second from
Kerry Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez. Agenda approved as presented. Did we all get a chance to read through the minutes? Anyone wishing to make any changes?
Not, no.
Then I'll stand for a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of August 28th, 2023.
Anybody make a motion?
Yeah, a motion.
Mr. Rodriguez has, can we get a second?
A second.
Mr. Lesbrance, second. So minutes of the meeting of August 28th are approved. Number 5, Board of Adjustment, there are no projects in regards to Board of Adjustment. Item 6, Planning and Zoning Commission. You've got appointed chair and vice chair. Do you want to continue with that one?
Sir,
Or do you want it to move differently?
we could go ahead and continue with it that way, or we could go ahead and change 1 and 2 and put 2 in front of 1 and go ahead and discuss the case and then discuss chair and vice chair afterwards if you guys would like to do that.
That's fine.
That makes sense.
Okay. So then we'll move,
That we table that till further point in this meeting.
Okay.
We'll go to number 2, revisiting an application entered by Joseph Rivera for the property at 2446 North Grand Avenue. Mr. Rivera was asked to provide drawings of the anticipated development. And I believe we have all that.
yes, sir. There was a couple of items, Mr. Rivera took this case back, or had this, particular item come up in, city council and planning and zoning, in prior years. In October, 2022, he wound up in council after, planning and zoning went ahead and recommended approval of his item. When we got to council, council went ahead and noted a couple of things that they saw that might need some clarification. One was a parking plan for the area. So they had him go ahead and get a parking plan together. Another thing was a landscaping plan for the property. Mr. Rivera also provided that landscaping plan. It was inside your packet. And the last thing that was needed for sure was a copy of the notarized letter of agreement for connection to a neighbor's sewer line. There's no city sewer line at the back of that area as of right now. It ends over there by the Jiffy Lube. So he would be connected into a private line. He has since gotten that signed letter notarized by the neighbor that he is allowed to plug into, connect into his sewer line. Right now that we have the Maverick gas station getting put up, there is potential for the city to actually have a sewer line out there, which may fall into Mr. Rivera's favor. Of course, that hasn't happened yet, so we can't bank on that right now. We gotta go ahead and go through with what we have, what the cards we're playing with right now. So he went ahead and did all that stuff. Also at the meeting, it was requested that we have another design and review team, review of the plans. So we went ahead and did that. We did a follow-up design and review, team meeting, just last Tuesday to go ahead and get, everybody familiar with the project once again. So when we did that, there were a few comments made by staff from, utilities and fire, were here as well. So they all put in their comments. It was inside the packet, but if you guys would like, or actually it was with the papers that I gave you guys just earlier. I could read them out to you guys if you like them for a record.
That would really help us.
Okay. I'll start off with the one that Miss Maria Gilberry gave us. Miss Maria Gilberry couldn't make it that day, but she did send in her comments via email. And, I highlighted the most pertinent part of her email. And it has discussion to do with the sewer line again. This states, at this time, the city sewer line begins south of the Yardmans at their manhole. The Yardmans are his neighbor. Daniel Yardman is the gentleman's name that has the property next to, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Rivera is going to tie into the sewer line at the Yardman's line, and the city informed him that that would be a private line, and the city could not maintain that line. So if there's ever any sewer backups or anything of that nature, Mr. Rivera would be responsible. Mr. Yardman will also be responsible for the backups and cleaning of that line. There is a private line going into the east of these properties for the Maverick, that is acceptable, might get turned over to the city with an easement. That bigger line might get turned over to the city with an easement, she said. And if it does, that line becomes a city line and it could be tapped into at that point in time. That was Mrs. Maria Gilberry for the sewer, for City of Las Vegas sewer. The next we had was, Mr. Travis Hearn from the Water Department. Mr. Hearn's, only, issue was to find out if to recommend to Mr. Rivera that every, Airbnb on the property would have to have its own water meter and not a master meter on that property. So, he went ahead and turned his comments in. The next one is natural gas, and their question was the same thing, if it was gonna be on a master meter or each, individual Airbnb metered. They recommended each individual Airbnb be metered instead of a master meter. Mr. Arnold Lopez from Public Works has no issues with the area, no comment to make on the area. Code enforcement, did have issue with certain things, as of right now, Mr. Rivera still has not been changed from an RA zone to a C3. He moved the Airbnbs that are on there right now, he moved them on there preemptively, assuming that, maybe they would have approved him during the council meeting. So what code enforcement is gonna do until we get this thing processed and correctly, zoned, they're gonna go ahead and issue a cease and desist notice to Mr. Rivera to go ahead and stop any type of work that may be going on over there. So that's the code enforcement's part, until we get them properly zoned. Solid waste just needs to make sure that they have, adequate space for their trash cans and their turnaround radius of 70 feet for their trucks. They also have to make sure that each trash can is enclosed as per city ordinance, so we could prevent flowing debris, especially in that area of high winds. So they asked for those things to be, corrected. And then we come to fire department. Fire department had issues with, the life safety code, 101. It hasn't been used in over a decade, and he wants that to be brought up to speed as far as what he wants to have on there. So he put on their facility must become compliant with zoning prior to moving forward. Fire code on plans shall reference 2015 IFC and not NFP 101. All addresses must match on plans. So there was some discrepancies on the plans, on the bigger plans. I'm sure you guys got the smaller plans and it's hard to see them, but I got the bigger plan here if you guys would like to see it after the meeting and just go over it. But there's certain areas that had different addresses. For example, underneath the Rivera project, it says 2446 North Grand Avenue, while on the body of the map, it says, 957 Airport Road. So, he can't sign off on a map that has two addresses on it because he has to make sure that if his fire department is responding, they're not responding to 957 Airport Road when it's 2446 North Grand Avenue. So those are his concerns. Very important concerns, and Mr. Rivera has been apprised of these concerns. He's already taken it upon himself to go in and try to start correcting these issues. It probably would have to be revisited by DRT again, but it needs to definitely come through planning and zoning, if not this time, one more time.
Does anyone have any questions up to this point?
Yeah, I have a couple questions, or at least one question.
Yes, sir.
Is this Mr. Rivera here?
Mr. Rivera, if he is gonna speak, we need to go ahead and swear him in though.
Okay. Yeah, well, if you need to, I just want to ask him a question.
Well, would like you to stand and raise your right hand. I hereby swear that anything I will testify to here is purely the truth.
Yes. I swear that whatever I say is going to be the
You
truth.
do? Fine.
I do.
Okay, one of my questions is Lucas here mentioned that you started to make, not improvements, but you started to make corrections.
I actually have them right here. So one of the improvements that was asked of me was to do a thing for a bin that was going to be adequate for 2 dumpsters, which is going to be like 12 feet. I have everything right here, and the parking is in here. This is the new revised thing with the dumpster, and the landscaping also is done. So everything is done to code. Everything is done to the way that it's supposed to be.
And I guess another question I had is inside one of the documents, and I can't remember exactly what page it is, there was a reference to 10,000 gallons of water a day. Is that for the entire facility, or is that
You know what? So previous to this, I was thinking about doing a car wash, and I don't know if they were referencing to that because I did come here one
That's why I
time.
was a little confused, because I
Yeah.
saw the car wash, and then I saw some other stuff.
So that was before I came here, and I changed my the whole plan for everything. So that no longer exists.
Right there. Does that include the car wash in there as well?
No, there's not going to be. There's no car wash in here whatsoever. That was my first idea, and I kind of just abandoned that. So I kind of went with this whole thing, and that's when I put in the buildings.
Gotcha. So it's like a restaurant, Airbnb type thing?
So in here the plans, I have a future building that's gonna be like a future little restaurant type deal. And then if you guys have the pictures, you guys are seeing what it's gonna kind of look like. So
So basically, you're looking for us to approve the
Yes.
rezoning so you can go ahead and.
yeah, well, you know what? I went to the planning and zoning. I was approved. I went to the council meeting, and I was about to be approved. Everybody was almost in agreement to be approved, and then the last person that was with you, Amy Weiser, she said, well, before he's approved, I want to see a landscaping plan and I want to see a parking plan, and it was contingent upon those 2 things. So they said, get these together, come back, and we'll approve you apparently. But so I suppose it's protocol to come back to planning and zoning again before I go back to council. So I'm not sure how it works.
Okay.
But those were the only things. Those were the only 2 things that were holding me up, was the parking plan and the landscaping plan. Other than that, everything else should have been approved. But then, as Lucas said, apparently there wasn't, because there was the for the trash, the what do you call it?
Sewer.
No, the trash, for the bins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, I got that inside this plan. This is a new revised version that I got in today. So it's got adequate space for the dumpster and so forth.
And you have to have the corrections for the fire code.
Yeah, they're in here too.
Mr. Chair and Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Rivera was annexed into the city back in 2021. That's when he had come to us at the first meeting, wanting to open up what was going to be a car wash. His plans changed in November of 2021, and he switched it over to his other plan of becoming an Airbnb. And that's why you're seeing the 10,000 gallons of usage and stuff like that. Inside, the paper I gave you earlier is the actual part of the statement from the council. asking him for certain information that was needed to go ahead and progress for the Airbnb. I'm sorry, sir, I didn't mean to confuse you guys there.
No, it's fine. I just had, to kind of clarify stuff, because I was a little confused.
So right now, what we're looking to do is, first off, get Mr. Rivera rezoned so he could come into compliance, because he already has mobile homes on there, which are gonna become Airbnbs. So we need to bring him into compliance, and then hopefully his renderings will be to the liking of the fire chief for sure, and everything else should be falling in place after that. But
Comments don't keep him from going forward, they're just recommendations, basically is what these are.
they're recommendations, but they also need to be shown to you guys that they're complete. If he has them there, we still need the fire chief to go ahead and say, I approve. So we may have to come back again.
So, Lucas, so our job today basically is to just focus on the rezoning of the property, right? Because the property is now residential, is that
That's
correct, or?
So when a city property gets annexed in from a county area, it automatically falls into a area that's called residential agricultural.
Okay.
Especially if it's over an acre. Mr. Rivera has over an acre over there. So right now, he's an RA, and in an RA zone, you're not allowed to have what Mr. Rivera has on the zone. He is, however, annexed, so he did pass his annexation. He is annexed into the city limits, but he's just not meeting his zone to have what he has on the property right now.
So, again, our job isn't really to analyze the landscaping or parking or any of that stuff. It's just simply just, changing or making the recommendation to change from an RA to a commercial. Am I correct on that?
You could definitely go ahead and make a recommendation to go from RA to commercial pending review of his plans, you know what I mean? So, whatever you would like,
Thank you.
and that's our main goal for Mr. Rivera too, is to come into that compliance, so we could get him going the right direction.
I have two questions, Mr. Rivera.
Yes, sir.
Remind me, how many Airbnb units are you looking
I
at?
have a total of 11 buildings.
That's what you're looking at in Airbnbs?
Yes,
More than likely.
11, for the exception of one that's non-existent, and that one is gonna be a future one, the plans it says future, and that's gonna be a future one for maybe a year from now or a couple of years from now, after I've gotten everything settled in and approved.
So you've got water taps on all those?
Well, I don't have any water there yet, but that's this is the process to get all my water and everything.
Okay, in order for you to move forward anyway,
Yes,
we
yeah.
need to get you rezoned. Understand that. I have another question in regards to the fire department. Have you had to contact the county in regards to how they have that address? 957 Airport Road, I believe
Well,
that would fall in the county.
Well, Maria
Are they,
Perea,
It's not.
did we annex that far out,
yes,
Lucas?
it's
Yes, we
annexed
did.
in.
So we annexed all the way up to the transfer station, all the way up almost to the glue plant, but there was a certain section, at that time it belonged to a gentleman by the name of Donald Pino. He decided that he didn't want his acre to be within city limits, and he chose not to come into city limits. So it stayed out of city limits, just that one, how much acres is it, Joe?
Like 1.67 or something like that.
Well, one and a half,
Something
let's say
like
1.5 acres, he didn't want it within city limits, so it stayed out of city limits, just that little square.
Yeah.
And then when Mr. Rivera purchased it, he had different plans, and he wanted to bring it into the commercial area, realm of the zone, which it fits in just right with all the other zones in the area, they're all C3s in that area. So, his mission right now is to become rezoned, and then, of course, we'll have to revisit with the plans, private planning and zoning to see, so you guys feel comfortable that the fire department is comfortable with their plans.
Seems to me like Mr. Rivera's doing the best he's been able to at this
Sure
point.
is.
I'd like to stand for a motion to either disapprove or approve the request from Mr. Rivera. Or a change,
I have one question
Change.
before.
okay.
As far as funding, is it personal funding or is
Personal funding.
personal funding? And you have the funds to complete the project
Absolutely.
and within a timely manner, of course. So if everything gets approved and it goes to council after this, what's your time frame? 2 years, 1 year?
You know what, that's,
I mean,
it's gonna be within reasonable timing, that's for sure.
and that's the only reason you haven't moved forward on the property is because it's been,
That's the only reason, because I haven't been approved yet through council. Like I said, when I came into the council, to my last council meeting, I was about to be approved, but then like I said, Amy Weiser, she wanted me to get the landscaping and the parking plan before I get approved. And those are the only two things that were holding me back, and I have it here. So,
sounds good.
I'd like to stand for a motion to either disapprove or approve Mr. Rivera's request for a change in zone from a RA, what is it, RA2
RA to a C3.
to a C3.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we approve the change from an RA to a C3 for Mr. Rivera.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr.
Let's,
Esperance and a second from Mr. Salazar. Mr.
Terry.
Rodriguez, Mr. Rodriguez, thank you.
You want me to take roll call on that, sir?
Yes,
Alright, Chair Rodriguez?
Present,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, Salazar? Yes. Mr. Esperance?
yes.
Mr. Coca?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
yes.
thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome. Looking forward to seeing it.
Awesome. Hopefully we can get it done here, relatively fast.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you, Mr. Rivera. Thank you.
Are we good to go on my end?
You're good. You're good.
Thank you, gentlemen, really
Let's go work
appreciate it.
today, brother.
Take care.
Okay,
Good luck,
awesome.
Mr. Rivera.
Those plans for me.
Oh, yeah. So I should go ahead, so it's got the revision.
I didn't see anything about lighting. From the lighting. Oh, no.
I think that would be a,
This was just resolved.
Yeah, but
I mean, bringing up the zoning is, I mean,
the main thing.
that was fair. He does have to get rezoned to be able to have his items on there.
Yeah.
to move forward.
But to move forward with his plans, he's gonna
And
have
we
to
had
come back to you
approved
guys
him-
anyways, because
2 years ago for the car wash and.
Yeah.
And then that went south.
well, he changed his mind is what happened.
It's
And,
better,
yeah.
it's better this way.
I think
Maybe.
the car wash on Seventh came in just a little after
Boom.
he had.
Yeah.
And he'll have to come back in front of you guys for these plans because they're not approved through the fire department yet.
Okay.
So I'll definitely make sure I get another DRT going, put it back on the planning and zoning, and that's something I'll discuss with you guys after we talk about your bylaws or who you guys are gonna appoint as chair and vice chair.
Sounds good.
So now you said that the coverage for fire coverage was extended beyond. So is Dora Celeste included in that?
And as far as the code, I'm not sure.
Because remember, we had a problem there was a fire on one side of the street and fire department wouldn't cover it, they stood on the other side of the street.
Well, that Dora Celeste has a lot of funny areas that's county, city, kind of a zigzag through that whole area, so that one's really hard to tell. I would think the city holding an ETZ zone, we should be able to cover them though, you know what I mean?
So I guess what I'm asking is that airport road, does that go beyond Dora Celeste? And like you said, zigzagging,
I'll be honest with you, I can't answer that, Mr. Coca, but I could try to find some answers for you. And get you some answers. But I don't know it off the top of my head, I apologize.
I don't know about the annexation either. As far as Dora Celeste, that's pretty far north too.
It's a tricky one, yeah.
In any case, I think we can move on. At this point, we don't have, do we have any other business?
Right now, sir, just to appoint a chair and a vice chair, sir.
All right, so we'll go back to appointment to appoint a chair and vice chair.
Mr. Sweeney, so right now, you've been acting chair, for the past, couple of meetings that we have. So we're trying to see if we could go ahead and solidify a chair and a vice chair, so we could continue and move forward with the progress you guys are making. The city really appreciates all your time and everything you guys are doing, so I hope we can make it a better board for you guys. And you guys could go ahead and discuss amongst yourselves and see and feel, I mean, if you guys have recommendations,
Anybody else?
anybody else feel like being a chair?
Yeah.
You're the senior.
I'm not
so-
really, yeah.
Senior right here, you've been,
I have all of our aspirants wanting to be a chair, and we could take a vote. If everybody's all in favor, I could go down the line again.
Yes,
Mr. Rodriguez, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Salazar,
yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes,
Mr. Coca. Okay, Mr. Oliver Lesperance will be our chair.
We need a, do you wanna take the meeting from here, or?
That sounds fine to me. We need a vice chair.
Well, So do we have either a nomination or a volunteer for a vice chair?
I like the vice chair.
Very well. All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Ayes have it. Ms. Carey will be the vice chair.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Discussion of any other business,
We do have, other business. We have a discussion of our bylaws. Just wanted to go, over a couple of them with you guys. Check on my bylaws. Well, now that we have a chair and a vice chair, that's pretty much what I wanted to cover with you guys, is that we were definitely in need of a chair and a vice chair so we can make these, types of decisions. I've given you guys each the packet of the bylaws. I think if we all familiarize ourselves with them and go over them and read them, we'll come into an understanding of everything that we need to be able to, what we're hearing out, what we're trying to hear out, what we're trying to move forward on. Anything we could possibly do to better ourselves would be inside this book right here. Right here.
Before we, I'd like to,
yes, sir, go ahead, you have the floor, sir, go ahead,
uh,
proceed.
on the bylaws, in reviewing them, I could not find where we follow what city council follows and what governs that as planning and zoning commission, the chair does not have a vote unless there's a tie, as city council does with mayor and council. But I could not find it in our bylaws.
And I've had the same search for that as well, so I haven't found it. But right now, what I'll do is I'll go back, I'll get with our city clerk, and I'll see what I can find, if it stands the same way or not. And I should have done that prior to the meeting, I didn't. I'll have an answer for you guys in the next meeting and make sure that you guys are comfortable with it.
Very well. Very well. Is there any other business at this point in time that needs to be discussed or reviewed?
I'd kind of like to bring up a discussion that came up to us this morning
Yes, sir.
and see if you guys would be okay with this. We have the Maverick gas station that's getting their stuff put together. They've applied for what's called the City of Las Vegas variance application. They're gonna put up their sign, and of course, as signs go, we have a standard of height through our ordinance that doesn't allow anything over 25 feet. Their sign is gonna be off the freeway, and they're wanting to go pretty high with it, almost 85 feet. So they've applied for a variance, same thing as Love's Truck Stop did. Same thing for Love's, we're gonna do the same thing. They're trying to move the process forward, so I'd kinda like to see if you guys would be okay with having a special meeting probably within the next week to try to get them off of our schedule. And at the same time, I could bring back Mr. Rivera's plans and try to get them ready for council meetings on October 11th.
Very well. Would you need a meeting next Monday, which would be, help me out on the date?
I could possibly do Monday, or we could possibly,
the,
or we could possibly do Wednesday, I just gotta try to get enough, notice to you guys and to, the people that are around, the Maverick station. They need at least, 10 days, 15 days, I'm sorry.
well, that 15 days would be 2 weeks from
2
today.
weeks from now, probably 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
If we could get it out by Wednesday.
Okay,
So if not, I'll be in touch with the board and let you guys know exactly when. Again, this ain't gonna be planning and zoning. This will fall underneath our Board of Adjustments, duties. instead of planning and zoning.
So will you let us know on the date, Lucas, before?
I definitely will. I'll let you guys know with
Okay, so
plenty
we-
of time.
But
And
we
I'll-
should be okay with it. That would be the, let's say October 9th or October maybe 11th?
Probably around there.
Okay.
If it's the 11th, then we'll probably have to go to, I'll take them to a different council meeting, but,
Oh, the 9th is fine is everybody okay with the 9th?
It's a Monday at 4 p.m.
That'd be a 9th, yeah.
I'll keep you guys apprised. I'll keep you
Okay.
guys apprised exactly
It
of what's
would
going on.
usually be a Monday at 4 p.m.
Sure. Sounds
Uh,
All right, that being said, yes,
As Board of, is anything coming up as Board of Adjustment that you know of?
that'll
For
be
that one?
that'll be the first one that we see right now.
You all understand that that one does not go to city council.
That one you guys make your decision.
It's approved.
Okay.
If we disapprove, it's disapproved.
Okay.
As planning and zoning, we are only recommending to city
Yes.
council,
yes,
just to make
Another
sure.
thing, another thing to
That's
clear
clear
up is,
on that.
very good point.
another thing to clear up is the variance is not temporary. A variance is long-term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Long-term. So that's a misconception in a lot of areas, that the variance is just something to bypass until the ordinance is adjusted or they come into compliance. Once this sign goes up, the sign is there for good. And they'll
How
have it
high
for
is
good.
Love's?
I believe Love's is about 70, around there, 65 or 70.
They wanna go higher.
They're gonna go 85 because they're at a lower.
They're at a low,
They're
okay,
lower,
okay, that makes
yeah.
sense, yeah.
Yeah, and we do have drawings, we have the packet here and all that stuff. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew about it. At the same time, I could bring back Mr. Rivera's. If it's approved for the fire department, that's my one concern. If Mr. Span or Chief Span is okay with these,
Yes.
I'll move forward. If not, I'm gonna make him come back again because I gotta make sure that that's all in compliance. And at the same time, we'll get ready for his zone change. That's basically really needed right now.
That's a big deal,
'Cause,
but it's obvious, I mean.
Yeah.
The property has to be zoned.
One last thing I wanted to ask all of you was, when we're doing these packets, do you guys prefer emails or hard copies? Cause I could do both, or I could do one of each, whatever you guys want.
I prefer hard copy.
I just do.
I do
hard
too, hard copy.
Copies? And 2 emails over the
I'm
mouth?
electronic, so that's fine, whatever.
It's more advanced.
Whatever.
Either way.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't matter.
Either way,
Yeah,
We'll make sure we get something over to you guys anyways. One way or another. I just wanted to see what your preference was. But,
yeah, hard copies. Majority has it.
Lucas, one last question, if I may. Is that area where the Airbnb is gonna be, is that by any chance in the flood zone?
So we went through an elevation process with them, and he went through elevation permits and all that stuff, and he's been cleared. He's been cleared, he's gonna be okay. If you remember, I wanna say, when, maybe 5 years, 6 years ago, maybe a little bit more, they brought all the stuff that was behind, Capital Scrap, they brought a lot of fill dirt, and they put it there, and it elevated it even more, so. They have the elevation permits and all that stuff in their existing, applications. And if you'd like, I could present that at the next meeting as well, so you guys, have a little bit more comfort in it.
I just remembered I had to do some there on Encino and
Yes, sir.
Dodger.
I remember that whole project there, so you, yeah.
120 years ago, we were sitting in water here. This was
Yeah.
a big lake.
Yeah, well, right now, if you dig 5 feet there on Dahlia and that area,
Yeah.
you'll hit water.
Maverick said the same thing, they dug 4 feet and they hit water, so
Most of the time,
Interesting.
most of the problem is you're gonna get sulfur water.
sulfur water, yeah.
Okay.
Well, in that case, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Have a
I'll second
motion,
that.
we adjourn. Have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So be it. We adjourn.